Yeah, hello everyone. This is our very first English speaking level up session. I'm very excited about this, especially as our English speaking podcast more or less has fallen asleep over the last past month. Nevertheless, now maybe it's getting new impulses through this new session here. But even I'm more excited about the person I'm able to introduce today, and that's Nicolas Boucher. He was also or already in our English speaking podcast a guest. He's a senior business controller at Thales, and he's going to talk about FP&A and controlling, how to make the best out of business intelligence tools. So I'm really excited about all his recommendations, all his tips and tricks, because he on LinkedIn, he is a valued part of that, as he has more than 30,000 followers. Really valued content he's providing every day. And above all, I think it's a really nice person. Just got to know him again, or saw him as we are on our BI or die level tour in Stuttgart. So that was definitely quite nice. So let's bring him to stage and welcome Nicolas. Hello, Nicolas.
Hi, Kai. How are you
And I
doing?
think overall you're quite a globetrotter. I think three continents, five countries you already lived and worked in. So definitely a good day that you're here.
Yeah, and now we are in the video games world today with the music. It made me thought about the childhood and the games I was playing. I don't know, what is your favorite game that you played when you were younger?
Well, to be honest, I was never really playing something. I heard just the podcast from Alex and Oliver, and I was aware. Okay, I was really not a gaming guy. Anything else, I can never say. Okay, this was my favorite game. And maybe I was playing with FIFA or something, or some
Yes.
a motor or motorcycle or motor versions. But to be honest, I'm really not a gaming guy. Is it different for you? Are you also have that kind of a gaming experience, a career even in the past?
No, I was not really a good gamer, but like I would say, like I played and play with friends and play with my brother and maybe with my cousins who were into gamings and into computer. That made me like the link with technology and how to get the best of out of the technology. That's where I think I got the taste. And I remember playing like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, James Bond on the Nintendo 64, and of course FIFA. But also on the computer, I was a big player of Football Manager. I
Okay.
spent a lot of nights playing that, and or Civilization. So because I like to build things, so that's those games I really liked and spend a lot of time there.
Yeah, but nowadays you're more or less a controller or a manager in controlling. And over the past years, I mean, you had multiple positions at Thales, really pushing and driving the controlling and finance transformation in there, and also dealing with multiple tools, of course, in business intelligence. And out of that experience, you're now sharing your tips and tricks for this audience here, how they make actually most out of the business intelligence tools, or how to do best with it. And for that's the stage is yours. I show you your slides and I step back, and and then the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you. So maybe just a quick intro about me, really quick. Like Kai said, so I'm half French, half Belgian. Lived in 5 different countries. So I lived in Luxembourg and Singapore, where I was working for PwC as a financial auditor. I was born in France. I also studied in the US. And the last almost 7 years now, I'm working in Germany for a French group, Thales, where I got 3 different positions. And the first one was finance transformation. So that's where I got really to learn about BI and how to implement business intelligence. Then I was responsible of finance for a plant, for a factory for Thales. And now since almost a year, I am part of the biggest business, and we're also looking at how to implement new tools. And that's where I really got for business intelligence the chance to be first somebody who implement it, then somebody who use it but from very far away, and now I'm going to be a key user. So I got a bit all of the faces of how a finance person can be in contact with business intelligence. And so for you, the audience today, my goal is not to go into technical and what are the best tools or which processes, which dashboard you need to have, but really how you as a user or a key user, you can make the best out of the BI tools to have quick wins, to make sure that you embark the other people with you, because often finance people are the contact facing to a lot of different departments, and we often communicate figures, and if the figures are wrong, we are the bad guys. If everything works, nobody says anything, but at the end your work is easier and more valuable. So why do you need actually to go to a BI tool? So what is finance before having a BI tool? It's a lot of work where we are working on Excel, getting the data out of the ERP. And so we're really focused on transactions and data. And way less value is spent in the analysis and decision. Even though now, if you take all of the survey and if you ask people what they want to do, they really want to focus on the higher part, so which is analyzing the data and the figures, and also have an impact on decisions. So why do you need to look at BI and implement a BI tool and work with a BI tool? Is to go to the next step. And the next step is really to decrease the part where you are doing low value added work, which is the transactions and the data preparation, but spending more time on analyzing figures and then helping the company make decisions about these figures. For example, if you take, let's say you analyze your price and your margin, if you spend during one day 8 hours looking at 6 hours the day on preparing the data, 1.5 hours analyzing, and only half an hour talking with the people deciding, almost nothing will come out of it. But if you switch everything and you get only the first hour to prepare the data, then you spend half a day on analyzing, and then the rest of the day you talk with sales and marketing, you talk with your management, and you organize a meeting to take a decision. If you compare the 2 days, one will have way more value than the other one. And that's where you want to go. So after that, I thought, okay, that's really conceptual, but what can you do, really you, in your daily life and in your day-to-day work to use BI better? So the first tip that I will advise is what to do when you start. Let's say if you just join a new position or you join a new company and there is a BI tool, or the BI tool just arrived. For me, there are 3 things you need to know. You need first to understand where is the documentation, because you cannot spend your day in calls or in meetings just asking how the tool works. You have to know where you can read about it to find quickly how the tool works and all of the setup you need to have to make sure that you can use the BI tool. The second thing, and for me is the most important, is to know the key people. And key people sometimes are not always the ones that are listed as key users, because you can have a key people in IT, the guy just doing the whole data connecting with the tool. You can have also key people in your department who was at the beginning of the project and knows why we did the BI, why we set up some of the reports. And you can have also people who came after and are using the BI tool, kind of like they are taking the most out of it. And those ways to communicate with them, it's not really something that organized by the company. You need to go to people. You need to identify them. You need to ask people who can help you. You need to go and look behind the shoulders how they work with BI. And like that, you will learn. And also, really important, BI tool is not only for a function. You can have BI tools used by procurement, used by sales, used by HR. And so if you talk with the other departments and identify the key people in these departments, maybe you will identify that they are using the tool differently, or that they have other data that you can map with finance data to make more value for the company. And the last one is really understanding what are the cubes, what is inside, which data are available, and how the data are transformed. That takes a bit of time. You also need to train yourself about understanding how a BI tool work, to know what is OLAP, so how the data are connected, what are the type of data connection. So you have the star scheme or the snowflake. That you can learn online. There is a lot of documentation online and tutorials. But once you get the concept right, it's easier for you to have conversation with any type of people involved in the BI tool. So the key users, IT, but also the simple user, which are maybe your clients, so your internal clients. And if you can explain them the concept of a BI tool, there will be a greater acceptance. And that brings me to the point number 2. The point number 2, we have to stop thinking that the machine is the solution and make it about the people. Why do I say that? Is because 6 years ago, when I started my journey in finance transformation, I was a huge believer about that technology will solve everything. I really thought that technology is the solution for everything and that bringing a tool will just solve all the problems. Now, with a bit of taking a step back with experience, it helps, but it's not the solution. You need first to look at people. There is change management, so you need that people accept the tool, and you have also the processes. A lot of time, when a new tool arrives, people think that it will solve everything. The tool is implemented, but no processes and communication change around the tool. And so after a while, people are complaining not anymore about the processes, but about the tool, because it's easier for the human brain to have one keyword. Let's say that your tool is called Power BI. People will just complain that, oh, Power BI is wrong. I cannot use Power BI. Everything there doesn't help me. I have to do more work. When actually the problem is how Power BI is used and how the information goes to Power BI. And the Power BI itself, the tool, is not the problem. So how to solve that is first, you have the first parameter is to influence people. You have key stakeholders in IT that you need to influence if your priority in finance, you want to bring them up on the top of the agenda. Second, you have also to influence your business partners to make sure that they are going to use the information you get out of the tool. And maybe if you have a self-service tool, that they are also using the tool instead of asking you about the reports. And influencing takes a lot of work, takes a lot of different ways. Sending an email, an official communication is not enough. You really need to repeat and repeat. And some people like one-to-one communication. Some people prefer training. Some people prefer emails. But overall, only through a lot of repetition, you will reach the goal of acceptance about a tool. And also looking at what are the issue about the process rather than looking just at the tool. And how to do that? You need to celebrate the quick wins, because you need to make a lot of branding about why it's better to use the tool and to go through the automated report, to go through the self-services rather than how it was done in the past. Because if you keep two processes parallel, the old way and the new way, then you have lost everything. You have twice much work, and a lot of people complain that the new tool is there. So you need to find a way to show that the old ways can be replaced by the new ways and bring more value and bring also more efficiency. And the last point, I think I repeated enough. First, solve your processes before looking at new tools or changing tools. That's really the only way you can have a good use of BI. So if I think about finance, let's say we are reporting the cost centers, and to report the cost centers, there is always information in the ERP, but then the headcounts are not in the ERP, they are in another system, and somebody is doing a manual change. Then to have a dashboard with your cost center plus your headcount, you will have always a process to change, because you have first the extract from ERP and then a manual input. So you need to have a process that flows from the manual input to the BI to make sure you can change the process and have everything automated. If not, you have only a half solution and nobody accepts that. So the last point, because I thought to make it concrete for you, to explain you what type of report I use in my day-to-day when I work on BI. So the main reports I'm using, because there is a lot of data, there is a lot of options to go overview and consolidate different entities, or to drill down, meaning that I want just to see the detail. It's first the cost centers. So in a company, you can have 20, 30, 50, 100 of cost centers. And then if you have 3 or 4 companies to look at the same time, you can have 400 cost centers. So you cannot analyze all of the cost centers alone, separately, in the old way. You need to have consolidation possibilities, and you need to have drill down possibilities. So I use BI for that, because with BI, I can have my template about what I want to look at. Do I want to look at the salary cost? Do I want to look at the travel cost? And then I use the overview to start with. And then I have another report to look at, when I drill down, all of the cost centers that are flagged as exceptions, meaning that they have higher variance than the average. And that helps me within 15 minutes to know, okay, what do I have to look this month and which cost center I have to look. And after, I just take my phone, or I email the people, or I meet them and ask why it happened. And if there is something to decide to resolve it, then we do it within the next 30 minutes. So I replace the manual work by first analyzing and identifying the problems, and especially acting and call people. For project controlling, there we have a lot of project managers who want information about their project. And each of them, they go to different people and ask different reports. A lot of time, each project from each project controller for each different project manager get a different Excel file. What you can do is, instead of having all of this manual work to just make a report, you need to have standard report for projects where you can have either the overview or more details. And then you just select the project, and you can, like that, show to the project managers the information they need. And the best way, the next step, is to show them that they can themselves issue a report by changing the report based on the dimensions they want to look at. And the last one, I talked about it before, is headcount. Because like cost centers, you need to have sometimes overviews or sometimes drill down, and it's really useful to use BI for that. So that's why, so that's what I wanted to share with you today. So first, BI is going to help you to go from transactional to added value activities. And you need to have that in mind. If it's not the way it is, meaning that it's not bringing value, you need to work on improving the process to get the best use out of your BI tool. The second one is BI is about people first and not only about the tool. And that I learned it the hard way because I was a bit a dreamer thinking that technology can solve everything. No, you work first with people before working with technology. And the third, make it really concrete. Start with small reports and then go big once it's working. So now I suggest to share your questions in the private chat, and we will continue the discussion with Kai.
Yeah, perfect, Nicolas, for those three. I mean, they just huge steps actually you're describing. I mean, those tips, somehow they also sound simple, easy to implement, more or less. Obviously, we're not the first person who are really stating those statements. Of course not. Nevertheless, I think many people are still struggling with those tips to implement in their company. So what is your observation? Why is this still the case? Why is it still necessary to repeat those statements, those recommendations? Why do people still really struggle to implement those in practice?
Well, the answer is change management. And it's, again, like a theoretical concept, but once you go through it, it's really that you really have in change management, you first have the people refuse the change. And so you need to explain them why the change is good. And so to explain them and show them value, it takes a lot of effort. And every individual, not every department, but really every individual is different. And for some, they will accept quickly the change. For others, not. And so you need to address their pain points. You need to show them why it's going to bring them value. And also, you need to understand that it's not always a benefit for everybody to bring a BI tool. It can be that some of the individuals have to work more than before. And if they don't know why they have to work more, and if they don't get benefits from it at the end of the value, they will just criticize the tool. So I have an example. We have people being asked to fill up data in a certain templates because then it will go in the BI tool. Before, they didn't need to do that. They were just sending, they have their own templates, and for them, it's twice the work. So if you don't show them why it's important to have everything in one type of standard, and that after they can get value from it, then you just lose them at the first step. And you need to get them back to show them the whole value to make sure that they understand, okay, I'm going to invest at the beginning, but I will get something at the end. And that takes effort, and not only a meeting, not only email will work. You have to do one-to-one with people. You have to show them what is possible with the tool and repeat and repeat and repeat.
If you refer to this change management, where do you see it from an organizational perspective? Is it necessary that more or less every manager is part of this change management, is driving this change? Should there be more or less a central function really supporting that, or just from this organizational perspective, where would you, let's say, put in this change management?
I think as a manager, you need to understand the concept and not ignore it, because a lot of people ignore it, even though they just think it's theoretical. But you need to accept that it's there, and you need to accept that there is processes to improve the change. And for that, you need people more expert on the topic to help you, but they cannot drive you to change for you. So they can help you take a step back and ask, okay, who are the stakeholders? What does it mean for the stakeholders? And to help you look at the change from another perspective. Because a lot of time you just think about you and your team, because it's normal, that's what you see every day and that's what you live. And if you take somebody from the organization helping you to look at the whole chain, they will help you identify why this tool will help another department or another one. And so you will attack the aspect for the other departments differently, because for some departments is more work, for others is less work, for others is more value added, for others is less value added. And so when you work with somebody from the organization, they help you go through this process.
But at the end, you say there's not this single blueprint really to integrate this change management. It's a lot of individual work, and often, and probably many companies only can learn it the hard way, because as you described it, change management is difficult, it is time consuming, it is annoying, it is a lot of explanation, etc., etc. So all the hard stuff you need to do. But from your experience, you also support that it's definitely worth to do so.
Yes, because it's compounding effort, because at the end, each person you convince, it adds up to the value chain. And if I will take an example. Each month, a project manager comes to me and asks a special report for his project. What I do is I invest 15 to 20 minutes to build a report with them. Sometimes I let them build the report, so like that they learn. So I do like a mini training, and I set up with them an automated email so that every month they will receive the report in their mailbox. And so instead of asking me every month about the report, we invest 15, 20 minutes. They receive the report every month. So they win time, because there is no 2 or 3 days delay between the ask and when they receive. And on top, I also save time. And at the end, everybody from the organization is going to use the same source of information. So it goes through that, and it's really like you need to invest a bit of time at the beginning, but it compounds, because if I'm thinking every month what now I created with all of the project managers asking me about a specific report, now I have 20 reports that are just going automatically in the nature. And if I will have to do that every month, I will spend 2 or 3 days just working on that.
And from your personal perception, what would you say the time you spend for these change management activities, maybe in percentage or something for each day or for a whole month or something like that? Is there something you can say from your gut feeling how much time you spend for those change management activities, more or less?
Yeah, I cannot tell really a specific time, because we work in waves. So meaning that, for example, the last 2-3 months, we were really focused on budget. There are some periods where we are more focused on improving tools and implementing new reports. I just want to say that when you have the opportunity, do it and don't delay it, because you will never do it if you don't do it first time when you can. And I wanted also to add, I said that people are really different, and you need to have different type of communication. I learned that when I did a training about train the trainer, meaning I was trained to teach other people concepts and to give classes. And what you learn, and it was for me a discovery, you learn that there is 4 types of learning. There is people about theory, people about practice, people about summarizing and repeating everything. And then there is the 4th type who needs a mix of all of that. And so if you do a lesson just thinking about your own style, let's say if I am theoretical and I will just do a lot of theory, then I will get 75% of the people will not have learned something in my class. So I need in my class to have the 4 types of learnings. And for me, in change management is the same way. You have people who prefer one-to-one. You have people who need a training. You have people, they need a documentation. So you need to build all of that to have a better impact.
What I really liked straight from the beginning was this picture you described. Okay, there's the 70% data preparation in the time before, more or less, and then there is the need for the change, so that the people not spending their time basically for putting Excel from left to right and back and forth. Really moving to this direction, having focus on decision making, on really analyzing the data, and not this data preparation stuff. Do you think really that all organizations are ready for that? And if they are ready, what kind of qualification or new qualification or even new mindsets, new people, whatever, what they need really to shift in that direction? Because I can imagine that many people really focusing in the past on Excel, etc. They really not willing to let it go, their favorite Excel calculations, etc. What are your thoughts concerning the qualifications necessary for the people really being able to make decisions and really to analyze? What are a few thoughts from you about that?
Yeah. So I think when you hear people, and not only the young people, but also people who had experience in accounting, for example, there is now a need that people want to have sense about their work. And making sense about their work is also showing what is the impact of what I'm doing every day. And so you need transactional to run a company, because the business needs to be, I would say, reflected in a tool. And for that, you have processes that are automated, processes that are manual, depending on the companies and the departments. But what people want at the end is really to make more sense of what they are doing and have more impact. And for that, to make more sense, you need to understand what you do, to understand the figures if you're in finance, and understand what can you do with the figures to help the organization. And so what you can learn for that is first learn how a financial statement works. And financial statements, you have the balance sheet, you have the P&L, and you have the cash flows. So if you are one of the rare person in finance who understand how the 3 are connected, you have a bright future, and you're already somebody really exceptional in the company. And that you can learn. And I would say you learn with practice and theory, but really you need to focus on that. The second aspect is to understand how a budget is built. Because a lot of time in finance, what we do, we analyze the reality to the project. And so if you don't understand how the budget is built and how the reality arrived, then you can never compare the two together. So it's not only understanding the business, but also understanding how the budget was done, and then see, okay, what are the assumptions I took for the budget? What happened in the reality? And like that, you can give better insights to the management. And the last point is to understand what the management wants, what the business can do. And that's the finance business partnering. So really being somebody connecting the dots between the figures, the business, and the objective of the company. And for that, it's a lot of putting yourself in the shoes of the other departments, understanding how the other departments work, understanding the business of the company, understanding also where your company wants to go.
What I really liked about this statement is really to say, okay, there are even some people in those controlling and finance departments who are not really aware of that. So I really like that about this statement, and that they need to really qualify themselves in their field, as they say, okay, we are the controllers, we are the finance guys, whatever, and there are specific things they really need to care of, so that they increase really their knowledge also in this business relevant stuff to add value again, because it's not moving figures from left to right, but really adding value through the interpretation and knowing the details. I really liked about that, because it's not okay, it's given, okay, you know all that, but there are still some fields you can dive in and add value to. I really liked about this statement. Okay, we have also one from LinkedIn here. How do you deal with strong resistance from key people in the project? I mean, we always know that, okay, we are forcing our projects. I would always say, okay, focus on the people who are really willing to change. But of course, we know those people, there might be some key influential in a project, but still really not willing to support you. Any advice from you from your doing so far?
Yeah, really good question, Sufyan. So that's what I was explaining at the beginning, is you need to make sure that people understand the value for them. And if everything they get is more work, you will lose them, and they will just do the minimum for you. And even they could delay you because you need them and they don't participate. So you need to find a way that they find value in the project. And for that, you need to be really flexible. You need also to adapt your communication to the people, because people might want something informal. Some people might like something more structured. So if you need, let's say, you need an input from another department, and they need to say yes or no, they need to give you information about a table, you need to understand where is their blocking point. Is it because they don't understand why they have to do it? Is it because the file is too complicated? Is it because they don't have time? Based on those blocking, then you need to talk with them. And let's say if they don't have time, well, show that you can negotiate a bit the timing, and they will appreciate that you are flexible, that you have an understanding. If it's about the format, find a solution that maybe they have a table that exists and does 90% of the job, and then you take 15 minutes with them on the phone to complete the last 10%. Like that, for them, is only 15-minute work, and they will appreciate that you were flexible for them again. And if they don't understand the value, you need to explain, and you need maybe to incorporate some of their critiques, and they could have proposition that at the end will make the tool and the processes better. So you need to listen to them, because there are reasons why people are resistant, and often listening is the first step. Explaining why some of the issues can be addressed or not be addressed also can relieve a lot of frustration out, because nobody I would say, like, people who are resisting is first because they don't understand. And if they understand how the tool works and what is possible and not possible, they will have a better acceptance, and it will help you after with your project.
I think the question from Angel, I think, is really more or less going in a similar direction. Would you like to add anything to your explanation you already did? I mean, those buy-ins, I mean, I would say basically what you explained here, or is there anything else you would like to add?
Was a bit what I explained when the project managers were asking me, or I have another example, cost centers, so head of cost centers, head of departments, they were asking me, okay, how do I see that? And I was asking them, okay, do you know this tool? A lot of time they say, yeah, I heard about it, but I didn't go since 3 months inside. So already you feel there is not a huge use and not a huge acceptance. Then you take 10 minutes with them, you say, okay, let's just take 10 minutes. It will be a good use of your time and my time, and let's show you again how does it work, and let's save it for you. And then you find you find what they need really from the tool. And so after the 10 minutes, a lot of time people are happy that they know, okay, the data is there, the report exists, I don't have to build anything new. And also, if you tell them, okay, my expectation is you look at it every quarter, 5 minutes, is really different than if you don't say anything. If you don't say anything, they will think, oh, I have to look at that every month, I have to spend 1 hour, I have to send an email with analysis on it. No, if you just are really pragmatic about it, and they understand you make it flexible for them, you'll have a higher buy-in from the stakeholders.
You mentioned sometimes, or you said, okay, the best reports to start with, that's a cost center analysis, project controlling, headcount. For me, kind of standard dashboards, more or less, you couldn't derive from that. Of course, there might be adaptations, and you describe those processes of how to adapt it together with your colleagues in these practical situations. But from your point of view, how would you describe the best possible process to define and collect those requirements for those initial dashboards? Let me say, okay, on this top level, how would you proceed really to collect those requirements from your experience?
Yeah, so what is really dangerous is to make a report yourself without talking to nobody. You can make something really pretty and that works for you, but the organization will not use it. So you need to understand, am I doing it for other people or for me? If it's for yourself and you have just to report that to management, okay, there you can go fast. You can also show quickly results. That's a good way also to show to management that the tool works well. If you have to work with the organization, and coming back to the buy-in and to the resistance, you really need to get different feedback from the people who are going to use it. And you need to have them during the process look at what is existing, because you cannot reinvent the wheel all the time. Ask, okay, from the report existing, what are you really looking at? Ask them that, because maybe they just say, first, I don't understand it, so I'm not looking at it. So why are you not understanding? What is not clear? And maybe you have first to train the people about the finance terms. So once it's done, then they will say, oh, I need to look at that and that and that. So you take this list and you show them a first draft. And then if the draft is working, then you start with that. You start small, because you want that people are not spending 1 year in the process. You want them to show them value really fast. And then you can add on, because people will say, oh, it would be nice to have that. It would be nice to have that. But always make sure that you know what is the population who are going to use the report. And what I've seen in my experience is that the projects are often driven by one team, let's say a central team, because it's often the case, and they always think about what the direct management needs. But they don't think that under it, there is like 100 of head of cost centers who are going to use the reports. And if you make it easy to use, they are going to use it and save time. If you don't make easy to use, they will not use it, they will not help you with it, and you will not bring anything to the organization besides just reporting for the management. And that's really hard for people to understand, because they are speaking every day to their management, but to the other departments, they almost don't see them, especially if they are in one headquarter, and they don't get the direct feedback. So you need to go out, you need to speak to people. And a good way for that is also, in your experience, you change jobs and you go from central, so headquarters, to the local operations. You can also do cross-functional projects where you work with procurement, where you work with HR. And like that, you see how the people see the tools from their own glasses or their own eyes.
I mean, you reflected the cooperation between multiple business functions, more or less. But if we talk about tools, there's always IT or business intelligence also integrated more or less in this process. How do you see the cooperation between those two poles, I would say, IT and business, more or less. How do you share those different tasks? And is it really on the same level? How do you see this kind of cooperation? Maybe just as a few closing words also.
I think you need to learn yourself a lot about the technical concept. You don't need to be somebody technical, and you don't need to be able to do it yourself, but you need to understand the concept to be able to explain to people working on data what you need from them. Because often they might not understand the finance concept or the business concept because they are not working with that every day, but they might understand how data are linked, if you need more drill down or more consolidation. And so understand these OLAP concepts and CUBES concept to be able to explain better. You will have better results. Also, the second point is influence. So you need to influence people because they have their own priority list. And often you are not at the top priority unless if you are lucky. But so you are not on the top. And people have always more to do than the time they have. So you need to also to use all of the ways, all of the channels to communicate with them, make for them also the work easier. You can draft some stuff and ask them just to review. And doing that, people will appreciate because not a lot of people are going the next mile. And if you do that, they will prioritize you compared to everybody else because they'll think, well, the guy is doing the effort, the guy is nice, the guy or the girl is making it easy for me, so I'm going to help him.
So it's always those two poles, IT and business, but trying to be as polite as possible, providing as much as value also for the other side. So really working on the same level, not saying, okay, there are different, let's say, tasks for each side, totally fine. But really the cooperation should be always on the same level, trying to help them. Then you would also get something back. So that's the clear statement from your side. It's not working without IT. It's not working without business. And there's a clear need for same level cooperation. And here it's a lot of people management at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I mean, you can bring something, for example, by helping them prioritize. If they have a list from finance of 20 points, and if you say, okay, the last one actually, now it's done, or we almost don't need it, they will just be happy that 5 points out of the 20 are gone. But you say, okay, but the 3 first that I just mentioned you need to have it done by tomorrow. And that's the best way also to get results, because you need to talk with them, also organize meetings, go physically if you need, or organize a call. Don't block people 2 or 3 hours, but like efficient 15, 30 minutes to go through the points. And at the end, you'll be every day one step closer to your goals.
Okay, these are quite nice, famous last words. Maybe one thing we should come up also at the end, as I stumbled a bit over the abbreviation FP&A, maybe you can solve that for me just at the end of the talk. And then, of course, thanks a lot for all your time and your thoughts in this session here.
Yeah, thank you, Kai. Really happy that we could discuss about it, because I think it's technology and the BI tools, something important for finance, as we are dealing every day with figures, every day with different technologies and tools. And a lot of people in their own organization, they might not have mentors or coach who help them through this process. So happy to connect with everybody who were looking at the session. If you have any question, just contact me on LinkedIn. And to answer to the question of Kai, so why I named it FP&A and Controlling, because in Europe, we name what I'm doing every day controlling. And it's basically analyzing figures, making a budget, reporting to management, doing finance business partnering. In the English world or USA and UK, they call it rather FP&A. and sometimes can be more sexy than controlling. But it is really, if you look at the job description, is the same, FP&A and controlling. And also, depending on where you work in the company you work, within FP&A, within controlling, you have so many different tasks that both, it's a big category that means the same thing. And I think we are lucky, the people working in FP&A and controlling, because our work is really diverse. We are really at the intersection of a lot of departments. We got a lot of insight from the business. We are close to top managements and really looking at the future, also looking at the top priorities. So I invite everybody who work in finance or want to work in finance to look at this type of jobs. And if you have any questions, just contact me.
Perfect. Definitely, it's a nice thing to contact him, as I think 30,000 plus followers did already on LinkedIn. At 12 o'clock, we will continue our session here together with Julia Büchting. We will describe or discuss UX from everyday life and how we transfer that into dashboards. I'm really looking forward to that. And now, thanks again, Nicolas, for this discussion, and yeah, have a nice rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice day. Bye.